My friend Asra Nomani is the author of the forthcoming book, Woke Army, uncovering a disinformation and character assassination campaign against Muslim reformers, ex-Muslim feminists, Jewish leaders, and others who challenge Islamist extremism. In an article for the Washington Post in 2005, Asra Nomani wrote that she hopes to organize a summit of progressive Islamic thinkers to define a 20-year plan for reform in the Islamic world. She said, "We are changing history today. We are not going to shut up." I think she speaks for all of us when denouncing the Islamist jihadist ideology, which is directly responsible for the October 7th unprovoked and brutal Hamas attack on Israeli civilians. I give you Asra Nomani.
On this day that this young man was kidnapped, October 7th, 2023, I was taken back to a day when I stood on a road called Zamzama Boulevard in Karachi, Pakistan. And that day for me was January 23rd, 2002. I was a Muslim, born in India, raised in the foothills of West Virginia. My father helped to build the mosque in Morgantown, but I wasn't allowed to enter because the mosque leaders had imported into our little mosque the interpretation of Islam that the Saudi government was sending into the world in competition with the Islamic Republic of Iran. That was my childhood. So it was a childhood where on Friday nights I was not allowed to go to the mosque with my father, and I wasn't allowed to go to the high school dance with my classmates because being a good Muslim girl, I wasn't allowed to dance. Only in 6th grade did I insist, and my mother let me sign the permission slip to let me learn to square dance with a boy named David Stitzel. Yes, David Stitzel. His mother across town was building the Women's Studies Department at West Virginia University. And I was a product then, as I stood on Zamzama Boulevard, of that feminism of my youth that sent our daughters to work with parents, that brought equal pay into our workplace. This young person who came to America with knowing not a word of English became a reporter for the Wall Street Journal at the age of 23. That was the remarkable journey of an immigrant family in the West. My story could have been a lot different because my father also got a job offer in Muammar Gaddafi's Libya. So I would either be dead today or in jail somewhere. But there I stood as a young woman on Zamzama Boulevard, January 23rd, 2002. I want you to go in your mind to that place because as I have been hearing these inspiring soulmates speak, I didn't know them that day. But on this long journey, we have been together since that day. And it was a beautiful sunny day. A family of parrots were squawking overhead. And a dear friend of mine from our days together at the Wall Street Journal was beside me. His wife pregnant by just a few months. His name was Daniel Pearl. Yes, the gasps that you feel are the collective gasps of our world that day, when just like this young man, just 35 years old, Danny, went off for an interview from which he never came back. He was just 37 at the time. And in that day, my October 7th, I learned what the world learned a few days later, that Danny had been kidnapped. He had been kidnapped by men who were former colleagues of yours, Noor, right? From Lashkar-e-Taiba. And I learned there, as a young Muslim woman, about the details of Danny's captivity. They put a gun to his head. They put him in a warm-up jacket to take those sign-of-life photographs. And then, my friends, 3 men arrived 5 days into Danny's captivity. And they arrived with 2 weapons. One weapon was a knife, and the other weapon was a camera. And on that day then, the camera filmed Danny as he spoke of his ancestry as a grandson of Israel. How his grandfather has a street in the town of Bnei Brak and Haim Pearl Street. And he said those words, "My father is a Jew, my mother is a Jew, I am a Jew." On October 7th, everything had changed in our world, but nothing had changed. Those people that were killed on October 7th were killed for the crime of being Jews. And I am here as a Muslim to testify to the truth, as Raheel invoked us to do and as the Quran invokes us to do. This is a Quran, the noble Quran, in case you should be confused. When I was a girl, my mother taught me the first chapter of the Quran. And that chapter tells us to go on the straight path, right? We all know this. And our mothers are the ones who taught us. Guide us on the straight path, accept the path, and not the path of those who have gone astray. Very simple. But this Quran, exported to the world from the government of Saudi Arabia, says, guide us to the straight way, the way of those on whom you have bestowed your grace, and then in parentheses it adds, not the way of those who have earned your anger, and it says, such as the Jews. It adds these words into the divine word, nor of those who went astray, such as the Christians. So into the text, they have made divinely ordained this hate of those who are human and exist beside us. And it was that hate that was used to then slay Danny. And I will take you into that compound, and in that compound, those 3 men washed the floor of Danny's blood. And then what did they do? They laid their prayer rugs. Because as Noor said, they used religion. And we are, as Muslims, here to testify that this is not the Islam that we accept. They laid their prayer rugs in the direction of Mecca because they believed they had sanction from the heavens. And that is the echo of Allahu Akbar that we heard from October 7th. And why is it that they believed that they had a right to the bodies of the young Jewish women that they took? We have a chapter, Al-Mu'minun, the believers. And in it, it says that a believer is a person who pays their zakat, their charity, and a person who guards their chastity, a man, except from his wife, so he can have sex with his wife. And then it says, and the captives that their right hand possesses. So in the Quran is a sanction that these militants have used to justify their violence against women. It is the same hijacking of society that happens by tyrants using religion. And these are words and these are interpretations that we must send into the dark ages from where they came, right? We are all Muslims who refuse that interpretation of Islam. But what we face as this poster was being removed is this reality, that there is a network that is using these interpretations and the politics to put forward this message, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And in the fine print, you can see the organizations. This one is the U.S. Palestinian Community Network that represents those in our Muslim community that are using religion and politics to destroy the state of Israel. I bring you this sign literally from the streets of Washington, D.C., where I stood among these protesters, and what was I wearing? My IDF hoodie. Yeah. And where did I get that IDF hoodie? I got it at a secondhand store in the West Bank. Yeah. And who are they working with? This is another sign. What does it say at the bottom? The Party for Socialism and Liberation. We cannot close our eyes to the truth. The truth, as it's exploited from the divine words that are used, from politics, from theology and religion. And this is the sign that we all hold together, because we recognize that Israel was the victim. These young women are the victims. The young men, the older men, the children, the babies, the families are the victims. This moral inversion that occurred on October 8th is immoral. And so we as Muslims stand together with this simple idea. Free. Free Palestine from Hamas. And free our world from extremism, so that we can all live in love and friendship and freedom. Thank you.